Prime Minister Narendra Modi has held extensive talks with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Information just coming in, 4 MOUs have been signed between India and Ukraine on agriculture and on development of Ukraine, integrated development of Ukraine. There is also an MOU that's been signed on a very important MOU on pharmaceuticals. So India and Ukraine cooperating extensively, the road to cooperation, but the images that are going absolutely viral in Ukraine right now are images that are going viral in Ukraine are of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's interaction with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, putting an arm around President Zelenskyy and walking along with him. Extremely important, the fact that Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Ukrainian President walked arm in arm as soon as the Prime Minister reached the Mariinsky Palace. This used to be the summer palace of the Tsar once upon a time. As soon as the Prime Minister reached the summer palace, the Mariinsky Palace, incidentally, just as an aside, this was where that very famous Natu 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 song was also filmed, a place that is known for significant steps being taken. Well, this is exactly the location where the Prime Minister and Zelenskyy had talks which were scheduled to be for 1 hour, but the talks lasted over 2 hours, and this shows how significant the talks were. The talks were told, top sources telling India Today, they were held in a very cordial environment. Point 1. Point 2, the talks on agriculture, extremely significant. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's emphasis has always been that India and Ukraine can work together, not just for the benefit of the two countries, but also for developing countries, for the global south. And post G20, India has been a very strong voice of the global south. A war between Russia and Ukraine impact not just these two countries but the global south adversely, and that is why peace in the region is extremely important. India has also made a big offer to Ukraine for integrated development, community integrated development, and this in a way is an offer to Ukraine that India can play a critical role in the redevelopment of Ukraine that's been adversely impacted by this conflict on for the past 2.5 years, 910 days and counting. Prime Minister Narendra Modi first had one-on-one talks with the Ukrainian President, and then there were restricted, bilateral talks. So first it was Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacting with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, then the National Security Advisor and the Prime Minister on the Indian side, and President Zelenskyy and his National Security Advisor, his National Security team, Mr. Yermak on the other side. They had a long conversation, and then the restricted talks between the two delegations and statements that were made, and the 4 MOUs signed. These talks are extremely significant. It's a very significant first step being taken on the long and very difficult road to peace. Before I get you more on that story, we bring you this report of Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the second leg of his 2-nation tour, first to Poland and then very important trip to Ukraine. We bring you this report.
An image sending ripples across the world. An elder statesman with a wartime president. Indian Prime Minister Modi and Ukraine's President Zelensky. Radiating an engagement that has sparked global interest and intrigue. Coming as it does, only 46 days after Modi embraced Ukraine's nemesis, Vladimir Putin, in Moscow. The Russian hug had sent shockwaves around the world and even sparked a reaction from Zelensky at the time, where he publicly decried the Modi-Putin hug as a huge disappointment and a devastating blow to peace efforts to see the leader of the world's largest democracy hug the world's most bloody criminal in Moscow on such a day. Zelensky's attack on the Moscow hug itself came 25 days after the Ukrainian president and Modi embraced on the sidelines of the G7 summit in Italy. Two Modi-Zelensky hugs and handshakes 70 days apart, emphasizing the India-Ukraine relationship and the body language of the two leaders in the global spotlight. Zelensky has had to make peace with the India-Russia relationship. Any reservations, at least on the surface, appear to have evaporated, making way for an arm across a shoulder. In the Russia-Ukraine war's third year, India's role has assumed big significance. While the West backs Zelensky, Modi's diplomacy has been lauded as a textbook example of India's peace-first priorities. As the two leaders now mark a milestone in relations and reaffirm a strong bilateral embrace, all eyes will be on the next phase of the Russia-Ukraine war and India's role. With Gaurav Sawant in Kyiv, Ukraine, Bureau Report, India Today.